welcome to a little video chat we are doing about a very, very cool upcoming game that we're all very keen to play on. But Nick has played it, and she travelled all the way to Sweden to do so. First off, though, Nick, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Chris. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I've not spoken to you for a while, so
no, you've not been on the pod and whatnot, but it's good. It's good to talk about something as exciting as this. So, without further ado, Nick, what have you been playing?
I've been playing. It's very exciting. The Star Wars Battlefront 2 game, which is obviously coming out in November. I think the 17th, isn't it?
Yes.
And yes, I went over to DICE headquarters in Stockholm, Sweden, and I've played a preview build of what I believe will be the multiplayer beta that is out in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So yeah, I spent a good few hours at their offices playing a variety of modes and chatting with one of the devs about some of the changes that they've made to the multiplayer and what lessons they've kind of learnt from the first game. So yeah, it was really it was good.
So what has changed then in the multiplayer?
Well, I mean, if you've played the first one, which I know you have, Chris, it was quite a streamlined experience. There were no sort of classes. You just were either on the rebel side or on the imperial side.
Yes.
And I mean, you could choose which weapons you wanted to use, you know, whether you wanted to use a pistol or a heavy weapon or whatever. And littered around the sort of battlefield would be power-ups. So, you know, if you wanted to get into an ATST or whatever, you would have to find that power-up on the battlefield and grab it before somebody else did.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't mind the more streamlined approach, to be honest, because I felt like it was a game that didn't have a particularly high skill ceiling to it, and it really felt like a game you could kind of just dip in and dip out and have fun regardless. Whereas I think some multiplayer games, you know, that have a bit more depth to them means that the more sort of casual player, and I know casual in gaming is a dirty word, but you know, the more casual player is kind of you know, they're played out of the game really. They lose interest in it because it's got a you know, core group of people who play it all the time and have really understood you know, the best loadouts and all this, that and the other. And you know, like I say, I didn't mind it so much with Battlefront, the first game, because I felt like it was that kind of game that was a bit more open to lots of other people, you know, because Star Wars is a massive brand, isn't it? Loads of people love Star Wars. But what they've done now is they've taken on board some of that criticism, and classes are back. I mean, I don't know if you played the original 2 Battlefronts from way back when. I mean, I played them on PS2. So classes are back. You've got a kind of support class, a heavy class, an officer class, an assault class. And they've all got their own unique abilities. I sort of settled on the heavy class. I mean, I played around with all of them, but the heavy class kind of just really gelled with me quickly. So I settled on that heavy class quite quickly. And the heavy one, for example, has a shield that they can attach to the front of the weapon, and you can't move very fast while you've got that shield equipped, but of course then it gives you some protection from enemy fire. So that heavy class acts as a kind of anchor when you are pushing for an objective, for example, or perhaps defending an objective, where some of the more speedy characters can get in and maybe take the objective, but you as the heavier acting as the anchor to just kind of soak up the fire and take some out while the sort of speedy characters are taking the objective. So there's classes. Not only that, the ships, the sort of space flight as well, because we saw one map, Starfighter Assault has replaced Fighter Squadron, and they've done the same sort of treatment there, where there's 3 broad classes of ship that you can utilise in that mode. And what else have they done? Oh, rather than having a power-up that you have to locate on the battlefront, on the battlefield, sorry, I'm getting the two mixed up here.
It's okay.
Rather
It's
than
their fault.
having a power-up, you know, and everybody's scrambling trying to get hold
Yeah.
of that power-up, you know, like maybe, you know, if you grab that one, you can be Luke Skywalker until you die or whatever. Now, what you do, every action that you do, whether you get a kill, whether you've assisted in that kill, whether you've defended an objective, whether you've captured the objective, whether you've helped capture the objective, you know, whatever, you get battle points.
Right.
And those battle points accrue throughout the course of the game. And once you've secured enough, you can then spend them in the respawn menu. You can spend them on, I don't know, like a Chewbacca character who is, you know, slightly more powerful and has a bowcaster and what have you. So you could, you know, maybe choose to be a Wookiee character, not Chewbacca character, a Wookiee character. Or, you know, you get a few more battle points, you could be a hero, or you could then maybe spawn in a vehicle certainly on the Galactic Assault mode. So rather than... I kind of like the battle point system. It reminded me a little bit of Halo 5's Warzone mode, I think it's called.
Right.
Where every action that you do in that kind of storied mode that you've got, you can then spend and just spend on power-ups. So that's kind of cool because it means that players aren't doing a mad scramble or are just concentrating on what's going on during the match rather than kind of, you know, wildly looking around to see if they can find, you know, the ATST power up on the field and then sprint across there, not really paying any attention to everything else that's going on because they want to get that power up. At least now it gives everybody the opportunity.
That sounds really good.
You know, it gives everybody the opportunity to be Luke Skywalker or Darth Maul or whatever, because all they need to do really is play the game, and, you know, eventually, provided, you know, they've contributed, that, you know, they'll be able to spend it on that if they want to. So that's a big change.
What heroes did you see in your time with it?
I saw... Now you've got me. Darth Maul.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if do you know? I actually don't know. I'm having to think about, because I didn't play as any of the heroes because I'm quietly so nobody can hear. I'm not very good with them, Chris. So I didn't really play with them. I had to go one of the Wookiee characters with the bowcaster. But he was short-lived, to be honest, because I'm not very good with the bowcaster either. I'm pretty sure. I think I saw Jyn Erso, or I may have. I may have made that up. I'm not going to say because I don't know 100% because, as I say, I kind of didn't really focus on that area. I did spawn in some vehicles because they're always a bit of fun, and I did spawn in, as I say, like the more powerful characters, like for example, in the last game, if somebody spawned in as Leia, for example, managed to get the Leia power up, there would be a brief window of opportunity where you could come in as like a Leia honor guard or whatever, and you would have slightly more health and slightly more powerful weaponry, and you would be a support sort of function for Leia. I think the Emperor had something similar as well. So the sort of Wookiee character is that kind of level of just slightly more health, slightly more powerful character. Like I say, I used my points on that, and also to just fly about, just fly around.
Well, in terms of like the modes, you know, you had a bit of a space battle, you know.
Yeah.
But what were you doing on land? Like, what's the kind of the vastness of it? Because obviously, like in the first one, there were big areas and stuff.
Yeah.
So you mentioned to me previously that you were in Thebes from Phantom Menace. Like, how big was that in the different modes? Was it vary depending on what mode you went on?
Yes. So we were only really shown one planet, if you like, or map. which was Naboo.
Yes.
And we were shown a 4 modes. So first of all, we played arcade mode, which is the offline single player or local co-op mode, and that was in the Palace of Theed. And I wasn't that taken with that particular mode, if I'm honest. It felt, do you know, it feels very much like a training ground for the multiplayer proper. So it's a good place for you to practice, to find out which of the support classes, which of the classes that you are more comfortable with, maybe get a bit of map knowledge, because that map does crop up again.
Yeah.
But in terms of wanting to spend lots of time with arcade, I'll be honest, I wasn't that bothered by it. I just wanted to get stuck into the multiplayer proper, really. Then we moved on to Starfighter Assault, which is it's replaced Fighter Squadron, but it's more detailed than Fighter Squadron. It's taken on a lot of the when the Death Star DLC was introduced to Battlefront 1,
yes,
it introduced this idea of a storied mission. So the first part of the mission, you would have to attack or defend a point. If the attackers won, you'd then move down onto the Death Star and actually be on the ground, or in a spaceship, in a space station. Starfighter Assault is taken that storied kind of approach, but it's all done in space or in the air.
Yes.
So you've got a multi-stage battle, multi-stage aerial battle, really, with you're basically attacking and defending at the same time. It's quite a complicated. When you first launch into the game, there's a lot to take in. It's not a simple case of like, okay, so the rebels here, they're attacking and the Imperials are defending. At specific points during the match, that will switch. So, like an Imperial cruiser will come in and it's like, okay, now all the rebels have to take that. I mean, I know that Fighter Squadron did do a little bit of that and it gave you an extra boost of points, but this seems a lot more in depth. It was very, like I say, it was very confusing when you first go in, because we only played 2 matches, so trying to take in exactly what was going on didn't really, I need a bit more time with it. But I kind of like this storied approach. It makes the matches quite lengthy, and there's lots going on. It's like, oh my goodness, I've got to be over here, and now I've got to be over there, and so it's quite a complex mode. Then we moved into Strike, which is a sort of 8v8 attack and defend, or sabotage and steal type mode.
Yes.
That reminded me of one of the modes from the first game, where you, in fact, the sabotage mode, where you had to go in and steal something and then escape with it. And then we played the sort of blue ribbon mode, which is Galactic Assault, which is the replacement for Walker Assault, and that is, you're either the sort of clone troopers or you're, I guess, the Imperials at this point, because obviously it's prequel stuff, isn't it? And you're trying to stop the clone troopers from storming the Palace of Theed. So that's where you've got the huge map that is, areas of it are locked off until certain stages are completed. So, and it's the same sort of approach as Walker Assault. You've got a huge vehicle moving slowly towards the palace, and you've basically got to stop it. If it gets to the palace, you then move to the second stage, and then it's sort of like, tight corridor type attack and defend stuff. And then there is another stage after that, but we never actually got past that, because everybody would always be defeated. The attackers would always be defeated at the second stage. So it was kind of like, oh no, I really want to see what happens next. But we were just too good. We were too good.
Yeah. Kind of the last question relates to just Star Wars in general, and playing Battlefront for the first time. It was like it blew you away. If you're a Star Wars fan, it had the visuals were impeccable, the sound design was extraordinary, the characters and the feel of it felt like every experience you could possibly want from a Star Wars game. Now, obviously, this game's the second one. It's more improved, but as a Star Wars fan, how does it feel playing? Is it that same feeling? I know it's kind of like based in the Phantom Menace, and some people like that film, some people don't. But just in terms of playing it, how did it feel as a Star Wars fan?
It's amazing. I mean,
that's all I need to know.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of the first game. I'm a huge fan of Star Wars. Have been all my life, really. And playing on Hoth and trying to take down that walker with the A-wing, doing the whole tie it round the knees thing was just a dream come true, really. Yeah. Battlefront 2 is it's spanning the whole timeline, so you'll have prologue stuff right through to sort of, Jedi and what have you. It's spanning the whole timeline of Star Wars. So although I know that the Phantom Menace and the prequels are not fan favourites per se in terms of the movies, it's still great to kind of be playing as a clone trooper or whatever. Playing as what are they called? I've just completely forgotten.
What, the droids?
The droids, yeah. And the droids are really funny as well, because they've got a funny little line to them, which I quite. Awesome. They had quite a bit of character.
Do they do the whole Roger?
Yeah, they did all of that. But so they're quite funny while you're playing with them. It's just wonderful. Like I say, the visual design. I mean, in Galactic Assault, the first stage is just beautiful because you're in the streets of Theed, and you birds are, like you're running around a corner of a building and birds just sort of like alight off the ground, because you've startled them, and it's just the lighting in it is gorgeous. It looks amazing. The map that we played on for Strike was just beautiful. It was in the forest, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. And of course the sound design. I mean, there's some real proper Star Wars pew 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 going on. It's like visually and the audio design is exceptional. It's very, very good.
Brilliant.
I'm just looking forward to seeing what maps we're going to be getting. I suspect what I've played will be what the beta players will have to play on.
Yeah. But your general impressions, you really enjoyed what you saw, and you just want to see more now, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I mean, you can read Nick's hefty preview piece.
Pretty hefty.
There's an interview with one of the multiplayer designers. Is that right?
One of the multiplayer producers. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice
brilliant.
chap.
Yeah. And yeah, loads of stuff. So yeah. Let's kind of get on the hype train, I guess.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for joining me, Nick.
You're welcome, Chris.
No problem. And take care, everyone. Bye bye.